Have you ever said something you later regretted, or spoken when silence would have been more powerful? In today's noisy world, social media rewards those who shout the loudest, and people rush to share opinions without fully understanding. However, history proves that the wisest individuals mastered the art of silence. Take Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors, who believes that staying silent is a valuable skill. He listens, observes, and speaks only when necessary, making every word count. Similarly, Steve Jobs used silence as a tool, often pausing in meetings until others filled the gap, giving him control and authority. Silence is not a weakness. It is a sign of intelligence, discipline, and self-control. It conserves energy, prevents unnecessary conflicts, and enhances your value. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, understood this long before modern psychology confirmed it. They knew that silence helps control emotions, avoid regretful words, maintain dignity, and earn respect. As Epictetus wisely said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." In this article, you will learn 8 powerful situations where staying silent can make you wiser, stronger, and more respected. By the end, you won't just understand the power of silence. You will know how to use it effectively. Control. But what if, instead of reacting, you took a deep breath and stayed silent? Anger is like fire. It flares up quickly, making your heart race and your mind rush to say something sharp. However, one of the greatest lessons in emotional intelligence is learning to pause in these moments. Abraham Lincoln understood this well. He had a habit of writing hot letters, filled with anger and frustration, but he never sent them. Instead, he let them sit in his desk until he had cooled down. More often than not, he realized silence was a wiser choice. Now, think about a time when you were in a heated argument, maybe with a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger online. Words were flying, emotions were rising, and you felt the urge to say something cutting to prove your point. But silence, in these moments, can be your greatest tool. It stops unnecessary conflict, gives you time to think, and allows you to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Mastering this simple habit can transform your relationships, protect your peace, and make you a person of strength and self-control. Someone trying to provoke you into saying something you'll regret. They expect an emotional reaction, but instead, you remain calm and silent. Your lack of response unsettles them, shifting the power dynamic in your favor. The truth is, the moment you speak out of anger, you give away your power. Your words, rather than making an impact, often escalate the tension, leaving you with regret. As the Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it. In other words, the damage caused by anger, broken relationships, lost opportunities, and unnecessary conflict is always far worse than whatever triggered it in the first place. Now, consider a professional setting. You're in a business meeting, and a colleague unfairly criticizes your work. You feel the rush of frustration, your instinct pushing you to defend yourself immediately. But instead of reacting, you take a deep breath and stay silent. Suddenly, the energy in the room shifts. Your silence makes them uncomfortable. They expected a reaction, yet now their words linger awkwardly in the air. By not responding impulsively, you take control of the situation, appearing composed and confident rather than defensive. This is the power of silence. It creates space for thought, observation, and emotional control before your emotions control you. Modern psychology supports what the Stoics already knew. The amygdala, the brain's emotional center, takes about 6 seconds to calm down after an anger trigger. If you can stay silent during those crucial seconds, you prevent your emotions from hijacking your rational thinking. But silence isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's also a tool for influence. Imagine being in an argument with someone who wants to push your buttons, whether it's a difficult boss, a manipulative coworker, or even an aggressive opponent. Instead of taking the bait, you stay quiet, composed, and in control. This simple act shifts the power dynamic, making you the one who dictates the tone of the conversation. Mastering this skill will not only protect your peace, but also earn you the respect and authority that come with emotional intelligence. With your dignity intact, but also with a sense of control and self-respect. People who know you well often know exactly how to push your buttons. They expect you to react, to say something they can twist, escalate, or use against you. But what if, instead of falling into their trap, you stayed silent? Imagine looking at them with calm, composed confidence. Suddenly, the power dynamic shifts. They have nothing to react to, no fuel to feed their fire. They are left exposed, trapped in their own noise. A wise man once said, "Never waste your words on someone who deserves your silence." But let's take it even further. Never waste your words on a moment that deserves your self-respect. How many times have you regretted words spoken in anger? How many relationships have suffered because of something said too soon, too harshly? Think back. When was the last time you reacted impulsively and later wished you had stayed silent? How might the situation have turned out differently? Here's a simple yet powerful exercise to help you master silence in moments of anger. The next time you feel anger rising, force yourself to pause for 10 seconds before responding. Take a deep breath. If you still feel the urge to speak after those 10 seconds, ask yourself, will these words make the situation better or worse? More often than not, you'll realize they aren't worth saying. Now, let's put this into practice. The next time someone tries to provoke you, don't react. Stay silent. Look at them with calm, composed confidence. Observe how the power dynamic shifts, how their need for a reaction remains unmet. In the end, you'll walk away stronger, wiser, and in complete control. If you resisted this urge, what if, instead of speaking prematurely, you embrace silence as a tool for deeper understanding? If you're up for a challenge, try this for 1 week. Keep a small journal and write down every time you almost reacted in anger but chose silence instead. At the end of the week, reflect. Did your silence make you stronger? Did it change how others responded to you? Did you feel more in control of your emotions? If this resonates with you, drop a comment below. I will master my silence. Let's see how many of us are ready to embrace this Stoic wisdom together. And if you found this valuable, share it with someone who needs this lesson today. After all, the strongest voice is often the one that chooses not to speak. Mastering your anger through silence is one thing, but what about those moments when you think you understand, but actually don't? How often do we rush to speak, assuming we have the full picture, only to later realize how little we actually knew? Imagine this. You're in a discussion with friends, and someone brings up a controversial topic. The conversation gets heated, and everyone shares their opinions. You feel the pressure to contribute, to sound intelligent, so you speak up. But then, someone presents a fact you hadn't considered, and suddenly, your argument collapses. You realize you spoke too soon, mistaking fragments of knowledge for true understanding. Socrates, one of history's greatest minds, famously said, "I know that I know nothing." This wasn't false humility. It was profound wisdom. He understood that true intelligence isn't measured by how much you speak, but by how much you listen, absorb, and question. Now, consider a different scenario. You're in a work meeting, and your boss presents a complex problem. You don't fully grasp the details, but instead of asking clarifying questions, you immediately offer a solution, eager to appear competent. Moments later, someone who stayed silent and listened carefully asks a brilliant question, exposing the nuances you missed. You feel the weight of your premature response. Why does this happen? Why do we speak before we understand? The answer lies in ego and fear. We don't want to appear uninformed, and we mistake quick responses for intelligence. But here's the paradox. The wisest people don't rush to speak. They are comfortable with silence, using it as a tool to think, analyze, and deepen their understanding. As Epictetus wisely said, first learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak. Yet, in today's fast-paced world, silence is often mistaken for ignorance. We feel pressure to voice opinions, even on topics we barely understand. Social media amplifies this, rewarding quick takes over thoughtful reflection. But what if, instead of speaking to fill the silence, we embraced it to gain clarity? Instead of rushing to speak, what if we pause and embrace silence as a tool for deeper understanding? Imagine sitting in a classroom where the professor asks a challenging question. Some students immediately raise their hands, eager to answer, but you resist the urge. You take a moment to think critically before forming an opinion. Later, when you finally speak, your words stand out, not because you were the first to respond, but because you took the time to understand. Now, think about a time when you jumped to conclusions, believing you knew all the facts, only to realize later that you were mistaken. How did it feel when the full truth came to light? Would silence have served you better? Developing the habit of listening first can transform the way you communicate. The next time you're in a conversation, resist the urge to speak immediately. Pause, observe, and ask yourself, do I truly understand this, or am I just reacting? If there's any doubt, choose silence, not as a sign of weakness, but as an act of wisdom and strength. The most respected individuals, whether leaders, thinkers, or innovators, don't speak impulsively. They pause, choose their words carefully, and ensure their speech holds value. Their silence isn't ignorance. It's a sign of deep thought, precision, and confidence. Try this for the next 24 hours. Commit to speaking only when you fully understand the topic. If you feel the urge to jump into a conversation without clarity, hold back. Listen first and let silence be your strength. If this resonates with you, say it out loud. I will listen first. Share this with someone who needs this reminder today, because in the end, loud voices fade, but the words of the wise endure. Mastering silence in moments of anger and uncertainty is a sign of wisdom. But what about when dealing with foolishness? How do you respond when someone argues not to seek truth but to dominate, prove themselves right, or provoke a reaction? The instinct to correct them, argue, or set the record straight is strong. But here's the reality. Arguing with a fool doesn't make you right. It makes you part of the foolishness. Imagine you're at a family gathering, and a relative begins speaking confidently about a topic they barely understand. They make sweeping statements, ignore opposing views, and refuse to listen. You feel the urge to correct them, to inject reason into the discussion. But deep down, you know that no matter what you say, they won't change their mind. Instead, they will argue louder and dismiss your points entirely. In these moments, silence is the wiser choice. Instead of engaging in a pointless debate, hold back and observe. Your silence does not mean you agree. It means you refuse to waste your energy on an argument that leads nowhere. True wisdom isn't in proving yourself right. It's in knowing when words will make a difference and when they won't. There are moments when no matter what you say, the other person will not change their mind. They are not seeking knowledge. They are seeking validation. Marcus Aurelius, who spent his life dealing with senators, generals, and critics, had a simple solution. The best answer to anger is silence. He understood that engaging with fools is a waste of energy, a trap that only drags you down. The more you argue, the more you feed their ego, their need for conflict, and their illusion of superiority. Imagine yourself in a debate at work. A colleague, clearly uninformed, makes an absurd claim about a project you've spent months working on. His words are incorrect, misleading, and even offensive. The room turns to you, expecting a rebuttal. You could engage, prove him wrong, and expose his ignorance. But what would you actually gain? He will still believe what he wants to believe. And worse, you have entered a conflict that distracts from the bigger goal. Instead, you stay silent. You give him nothing to push against. In that moment, his own ignorance becomes evident to everyone. This is what the Stoics understood. You don't need to win arguments with fools. Their foolishness speaks for itself. Your silence is not surrender. It is a strategic withdrawal, a refusal to be pulled into unnecessary conflict. Seneca put it simply, What difference does it make how much a man knows if he is wrong about what he knows? Think back. When was the last time you argued with someone who refused to listen? Did it change anything, or did it only drain your energy and leave you frustrated? Here's a challenge for you. The next time you encounter someone arguing for the sake of arguing, say nothing. Watch what happens. Without opposition, their words lose power. Without resistance, their claims fall flat. Try it for a day, then a week. Notice how much energy you save, how much peace you gain, and how much control you maintain over your emotions. If this lesson resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because in the end, wisdom isn't about having the last word, but knowing when words are unnecessary. You listen. Your instinct might be to jump in with advice, to offer solutions, or to tell them everything will be okay. But what if, instead of speaking, you simply let them talk? What if you held space for them without interruption, allowing them to express their emotions fully? Sometimes, people don't need solutions, they just need to be heard. Imagine how often you've shared a problem only to receive unwanted advice that made you feel misunderstood or dismissed. Now, think about the moments when someone truly listened. No judgment, no interruptions, just presence. Didn't that feel more powerful than any advice they could have given? Silence in these moments is not passive. It is deeply active. It communicates understanding, respect, and emotional support in a way that words often fail to do. Consider a scenario where a loved one vents about their struggles. You might feel the urge to fix things, but instead, you choose silence. You nod, maintain eye contact, and simply let them release their thoughts. Over time, they begin to process their emotions on their own, finding clarity without needing external input. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their own inner wisdom back to them. If this resonates with you, try an experiment for 1 week. When someone starts venting, resist the urge to speak. Just listen. Observe how they react, how the conversation flows, and how much more connected they feel to you. Drop a comment below. I choose silence to listen, and let's see how many of us are ready to embrace the power of presence. And if you've ever been truly heard without interruption, share your experience. Because in the end, sometimes the greatest gift we can offer is simply our silence. Process their own emotions, finding clarity in their own words. They start realizing solutions on their own, not because you told them what to do, but because you gave them the space to think. Your silence becomes a safe haven, a rare and valuable gift in a world full of noise. Abraham Lincoln mastered this approach during the Civil War, allowing soldiers and advisors to express their frustrations fully before responding. He knew that sometimes people don't need advice. They just need to know they're not alone. Now, think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Maybe it was a bad day at work, a personal crisis, or the weight of responsibilities pressing down on you. You turned to someone for comfort, hoping to be heard, but instead they interrupted, offering solutions, dismissing your feelings, or making the conversation about themselves. Did it help, or did it make you feel unheard? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." True listening is an act of patience and presence. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, few take the time to listen. And that's precisely why silence is so powerful. Now, imagine a different version of that coffee shop conversation. Your friend begins venting, and instead of responding too soon, you simply listen. You nod, maintain eye contact, and let them speak. As they continue, they start finding clarity in their own words. By the end of the conversation, they feel lighter, not because you solved their problem, but because you gave them the space to be heard. If this resonates with you, try an experiment for 1 week. When someone starts venting, resist the urge to respond immediately. Just listen. Observe how they react, how much more connected they feel to you, and how powerful silence can be. Drop a comment below. I choose silence to listen. Let's see how many of us are ready to embrace the power of presence. And if you've ever been truly heard without interruption, share your experience. Because sometimes the greatest gift we can offer is simply our silence. But about knowing when to stay silent. True wisdom comes from recognizing the limits of our knowledge and resisting the urge to pretend otherwise. Think about how often people speak with confidence on topics they barely understand, whether it's politics, science, or business. We live in a world that rewards quick opinions over deep understanding, where social media amplifies half-truths and misinformation. But the most respected thinkers and leaders don't rush to speak. They pause, they listen, they ask questions, and only then do they contribute meaningfully. Imagine another scenario. You're in a meeting at work, and a complex problem is being discussed. You have a vague idea of the issue, but instead of admitting that you need more information, you offer a rushed opinion. Later, someone more knowledgeable points out a crucial detail you missed, making your statement look uninformed. Wouldn't it have been wiser to stay silent, observe, and learn first? Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, said, "What difference does it make how much a man knows if he is wrong about what he knows?" Speaking without understanding doesn't just weaken your credibility. It stops you from actually learning. But silence, when used wisely, allows you to absorb knowledge, gain deeper insights, and respond with greater precision when the time is right. Here's a challenge. The next time you find yourself in a conversation about something you only vaguely understand, resist the urge to jump in. Instead, listen. Ask thoughtful questions. Observe the true experts in the room. And when you do speak, let your words be informed, not impulsive. Drop a comment below. I will seek understanding before speaking. Let's see how many of us are ready to embrace the wisdom of silence. And if you've ever regretted speaking on something you didn't fully understand, share your experience. Because in the end, the strongest voices are the ones that speak only when they truly have something to say. Silence. Drop a comment below. I will listen, observe, and speak with clarity. Let's see how many of us are ready to transform the way we communicate. Silence is not weakness. It is a strategic advantage. It allows you to gather information, understand perspectives, and refine your thoughts before speaking. Imagine the impact this could have in your personal and professional life. Stronger relationships, better decision-making, and a reputation as someone whose words carry weight. The next time you're tempted to speak without full understanding, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this valuable? Is this true? If you can't confidently answer yes to all three, choose silence instead. Observe how this changes the way people perceive you. Notice how much more you absorb, how much more thoughtful your responses become, and how your words start to command attention when you do choose to speak. This challenge is more than just a 48-hour exercise. It's a mindset shift that can lead to lifelong wisdom. It is wisdom. It is the discipline of knowing when to let go and move forward instead of clinging to a losing battle. Here's a challenge. For the next few days, whenever you feel the urge to defend, explain, or justify yourself in a situation where it won't make a real difference, pause. Ask yourself, will my words change the outcome, or am I speaking out of ego or fear? If the answer is no, choose silence instead. Observe how much energy you preserve, how much more powerful your presence becomes, and how others start to respect your restraint. If you're ready to embrace this wisdom, drop a comment below. I choose action over empty words. Let's see how many of us are prepared to let our silence speak louder than pointless arguments. And if you've ever wasted time trying to change a mind that wouldn't budge, share your experience. Let's learn from each other. Because in the end, the strongest response isn't always spoken. Sometimes, it's the silence that says everything. Aspect Investors rarely explains or justifies his decisions in the face of criticism. When others speculate about his choices, he doesn't argue or try to prove them wrong. He simply lets time and results do the talking. His silence is not passivity. It is confidence in his understanding and patience in his strategy. This is a lesson for all of us. The next time you feel the impulse to explain, defend, or justify yourself, stop and ask, is this truly necessary? If the answer is no, then let your actions speak instead. Show your character through consistency, your wisdom through restraint, and your strength through patience. Here's a challenge. For the next 72 hours, resist the urge to over-explain yourself in situations where words won't change the outcome. Instead, choose silence. Let your actions demonstrate your truth. Notice how much more powerful, composed, and respected you feel when you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. If you're ready to embrace this mindset, drop a comment below. I will let my actions speak. Let's see how many of us are prepared to rise above unnecessary explanations and wasted words. And if you've ever experienced the power of silence in your own life, share your story. Let's learn from each other, because in the end, the loudest arguments fade, but true integrity stands the test of time. Successful investors understand the power of silence, especially during volatile market conditions. Warren Buffett, one of the world's greatest investors, exemplifies this principle by letting his long-term strategy speak louder than words. While others panic, argue, and make impulsive financial decisions, Buffett remains calm, focused, and strategic. His silence is not inaction. It is intelligence. Silence is more than just a defensive strategy. It is a tactical advantage. It shields you from unnecessary conflicts, prevents manipulation, and allows you to observe, adapt, and act with precision. For the next 7 days, take on this challenge. Let silence work for you. Whenever you find yourself in a situation where words will not change the outcome, choose restraint. If someone misunderstands you, allow your actions to clarify the truth over time. If you feel the need to defend yourself against false accusations, stay composed and let your track record speak for itself. If an argument leads nowhere, walk away with dignity instead of engaging in futile debates. Notice how silence shifts the dynamic. It forces others to reflect on their own words and preserves your energy rather than scattering it in meaningless exchanges. You have just unlocked one of the most profound yet overlooked skills in life, the power of silence. Through this journey, we have explored how staying silent can help you control emotions, gain wisdom, avoid unnecessary conflicts, listen deeply, protect your credibility, and command respect. Great minds such as Abraham Lincoln, Marcus Aurelius, and Warren Buffett have all used silence as a tool of strength, not weakness. Now, the real question is, will you apply this wisdom? Will you resist the urge to argue when no outcome is possible? Will you pause before speaking, ensuring that your words carry weight? Will you let silence be your shield against manipulation and your path to inner peace? Take a moment to reflect. Which of these lessons resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts below. If this insight has been valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Someone in your circle needs this wisdom today. Hit that share button and pass it forward. And before you go, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. This is just the beginning. Every week, we explore Stoic principles that will transform your mindset, sharpen your discipline, and elevate your life.